This morning, we're talking about the nervous system disorder Parkinson's disease. April is the awareness month for PD. Organizations like the Northwest chapter of the American Parkinson's Disease Association continue to provide support to our community members living with PD here in the Northwest. This morning, we have husband and wife John and Suzie Schofield with us. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Well, you two actually became a couple when you were around the time you were diagnosed, John, at the age of 33. 30 years later, you two have a high school age son and still, as you two describe yourselves, kind of lighthearted, having fun, kind of goofing around a little bit, living life. John, I'd love to ask you, could you tell us how important it is to have family and community support, especially as someone who got the diagnosis?
Well, family is especially important because they're there with you every day. Mm-hmm. The community stuff, it's nice to have, but you don't use it as often. So it's nice. So the APDA does a good job.
A great organization to support you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. How about you, Suzie?
I just, support is everything. It just helps you sort of absorb the diagnosis, certainly. And for us, John was so young, I think we really leaned on family, and he had a wonderful support system at work who really encouraged him. And then as we progressed, we sought other resources, and APDA was a huge help for us. So.
And how do you and your family find resources to best help yourself as someone who's experiencing this every day, and then you as a caregiver?
Well, I think that there's a lot of opportunity to connect with others. John has had a pretty life-changing brain surgery, for example. It's called deep brain stimulation, and through physicians, they would refer us to other patients and other groups that were going through the same thing. There's wonderful support groups, for example, through the APDA. So connection is really good. For myself, as a caregiver, the APDA also offers sessions where you can come together for education and research and learn about those things, but they also will separate sometimes people living with Parkinson's from the caregivers and talk about ways that we can protect ourselves, take a break, take rest, and support one another so that we're whole enough to be there for the people who need us most.
Yeah. And you both mentioned the support of the local chapter. We want to show you on your screen right now some of the upcoming programs and a big fundraising event. For both of you, what would be your messages to families living with a PD diagnosis that may be new or it's ongoing?
Life's not over. People tend to, it's easy to get caught up in your under things about, what's going to happen next. The disease gives you a lot of time to get used to what's going on.
Yeah.
So
a lot of support helps, though, because you can get a diagnosis of any kind, and it could be jarring, could scare you.
That's right, and I think that we're just sort of optimists anyway, and I think that goes a long ways. John also says, you can only control the way you react to those sort of things, and just to stay upbeat. So, and also the tagline even for APDA is strength and optimism and hope and progress. We got involved really early on, and I would say almost for a chunk of years, we felt more like volunteers really than people who needed the services because he was so young. And now that we're more advanced in the disease, we're able to access so many of the things that we maybe helped promote or build within the organization. So that feels great too.
Well, for more information about local programs, events, and support services, text the word HOPE to 206-448-4545. We'll send you a link directly. John and Suzie, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.